Welcome back to Living with a Classic. It's a 6-month update of this 2006 Supercharged Range Rover being a part of the family. It's been my wife's daily driver and our go-to family car when we want to go somewhere together as a whole family. And honestly, those 6 months have been really good with this car, which was a little bit of a shock almost. To be honest, I was a little bit concerned or almost nervous picking this up because I've heard a lot of horror stories about these old Range Rovers, and things go wrong all the time. You'll just end up being on the back of a tow truck all the time. And honestly, even though I'm basically spoiling the video here in the beginning, these 6 months have been pretty uneventful, and this car has actually been pretty much the most reliable car in the fleet during those 6 months. But let's have a brief look around it. And if you want to see a more in-depth tour of this car, I have done lots of videos on this thing in the past. I'll put a link to a playlist down below. You can see where when we picked it up, what it was look like then. It was quite a project, and it was at that time the cheapest supercharged Range Rover for sale in the country, and I haven't seen a cheaper one since. Actually, it was less than $4,000 here where I live, and it didn't take that much to make it a good, reliable car. We replaced all the belts up front, the tensioners, they were all squealing and about to lock up. It sounded absolutely terrible when it was running. It was shifting poorly, so service the transmission. The fluid level was way too low, so I'm very glad we did that. Now it shifts great, and just wheels and tires, and the rear brakes were locking on. But once all that was sorted, it ended up being a pretty reliable car. Let's close up the back here and we can have a brief look around the car in case you're new to the channel, and also if you can show off the new wheels, which I think look really nice on the car. They're set up 20-inch from a Range Rover Sport. However, as you can see, the profile of the tire is a little bit low, so that is something that we'll have to change in the future. There's a good tread on these tires, so we'll run them for a while until the tread goes down, and then when at some point in the future we'll fit new tires on it, we'll get the correct tire profile. But I do think they look very nice, and they're in really good shape. Look up front here, you can see those nice big Brembo brakes in there, which do work very well on this car. Otherwise, not much has changed on the outside. It's a it's a used 2006 car. It has some scratches, it has some issues, but it looks very presentable. There are plans I do want to fix on the car now. It's getting a little warm outside. We finally got spring here. It's been way too cold to do anything on this car. So I'm going to fix the headlights so they're not all fogged up. I'm going to look for a replacement grille. I'm going to talk to a paint guy if they can, or bodywork guy, if they can pull out the dent here, fix that and paint that up. And there was a little bit of pitting. These cars only have really one place they love to rust, which is the wheel arches. And down here, it's all good down in the sills. It's just a wheel arch back here. So if someone can fix that for me, paint that, and then paint the rear bumper at the same time, I think this thing will look really presentable. It has a dark blue leather interior. It's a little dirty at the moment. This is the main family car, and we do live out in the country. But everything works on the car. Every single button, every single thing. The only actually electric thing that doesn't work is the reversing camera. I haven't had a chance to have a look at that yet. It's probably just a faulty camera. I will sort that out at some point, but we've never had a car with a reversing camera. So we're not really spoiled with that luxury, but you kind of do need it in this one. It's hard to see out the back. But you got these really nice blue leather seats with the piping on them. And this is the main family car, so we have a kid's seat there in the back. Speaking of family, it's the end of the day. I just stopped working and I need to go pick up my daughter from daycare. So join me on a little bit of drive. We'll talk about how the past 6 months I've been with this car, and a little bit, future plans and what we're gonna do with it. I'll just close the sunroof here so you don't get any sounds from the outside, but it's such a beautiful day here. I love cars with sunroof, even though air conditioning works perfect in this car. There's just something about having part of the roof open that I really do like. And honestly, I've started to really like this car after actually driving it quite a bit now that my XJ6 has been off the road. Daimler, I am waiting on tires. I've ordered a set and they were supposed to be here like yesterday or so, but they're delayed. So as soon as they arrive, I will start driving that car as well. But I really do enjoy this car, and the most important part though, because this is my wife's car, it is that she really does like it. She loves this car. She thinks she has a great view of the road sitting high up. Even though it's a bit of a tall car to get up into, it has the easy button you can push over here to lower the suspension down to get in and out more easily, and that has been great, especially with the big winter tires we had on this thing. And other than that, even though it is a really big car for European standards, I mean, here in Sweden, all other SUVs or anything are a lot smaller than this. You can meet a Volvo SUV, and you're actually looking down on it from this thing. So it's pretty big. Where I live, maybe over in the States or something, this would not be considered such a large vehicle, but here it is. But even if that is the case, it's a very large car, you pretty quickly get used to parking it and maneuvering it. First couple of days of driving here on these quite narrow country roads, it did feel a little odd, or you kind of felt that you were pushing people off the road. But now after 6 months, you really, I mean, it didn't take that long, but I mean, now after 6 months, it feels just like any normal car that you drive, and I mean, that happened a lot quicker than that. So there has been, some small errors. Of course, it is a 15-year-old Range Rover. So of course there are some small errors, and there has been one with the air suspension. I haven't made a video of it because it is an intermittent error and I haven't really sorted it out yet. I have checked the codes, and what seems to be the case is that sometimes when you drive the car, and it's more when it's colder outside than when it's warm, if you're driving on the highway, the car will lower down and the suspension will go inactive. And normally you'd think I get a code for the air compressor. However, I've gotten a code for one of the distribution valves, I think they're called. Please correct me in the comments down below if I got that wrong. But one of the distribution valves, and I think it's the one up front, it says it has an intermittent fault with that. I've cleared the code, and the code hasn't come back yet. If it does come back, I will replace that, and I think I will do a rebuild session on the air compressor as well. I don't have any documentation of that thing ever being replaced, and like I said, it's a high mileage car, 15 years old. The compressor is probably pretty worn out, but you can get rebuild kits with piston rings and seals and all of that, and they'll be pretty much as good as new. So that is something I will probably end up fixing, but so far, no real sort of major issues like that. Of course, there will be a lot of preventative maintenance you want to do on a car like this, especially when it is, the main sort of family car. A lot of people have sort of almost, I think, laughingly typed in the comments, especially when I've had some other cars on the channel broken down, that I said, all right, well, at least I have the Range Rover. And to rely on a Range Rover, which seems to be notoriously famous for being unreliable, as being the most reliable car in a family, might sound crazy, but honestly, I have found that this thing is no more or less reliable than any other 15-year-old car with a lot of tech in it. When this thing came out, it had a ton of technology for the time. And even for a car today, there's not really that much that we're missing. The only thing that it really is sort of missing is an auxiliary input or Bluetooth input to the radio. But that's pretty much it, and that's something I do want to sort out as well. I do want to keep the original radio because everything works there, even the sat nav, everything, even though I never use it, I just use Google Maps. But everything works, all the pixels are perfect, there are no weird areas. I've seen some errors with these screens, and everything works. So I want to keep the original, but I do want to add an auxiliary input or a Bluetooth thing. So if anyone has done something like that, please let me know in the comments down below. And no, this car does not have rear seat entertainment. Otherwise, I am aware that there should be an aux input back here, and I've looked, there isn't one, and I've ripped off part of the center console to have a look for it, and it's not there. But if anyone's added that to a 2006 model and it doesn't have rear seat entertainment, please let me know in the comments down below. So the only other thing that it has as a slight issue, and you can probably notice it right now because we're on a really rough bit of road, is sometimes a slight little knock from up front. And it seems to be coming from the sway bar end licks up front, which is a common issue on these cars. And I had a look underneath now when I swapped the tires. I couldn't see too much play in them. They did look a little worn, but the bushings for the sway bar looked a little worn as well. So I'll probably order, a complete set of bushings for sway bars and sway bar end links, and that should get rid of that. Otherwise, it runs nicely. Brakes are great on the car. It doesn't really consume any fluids or anything, and of course doesn't use any coolant. Oil has stayed at a really good level. When I got the car, that was one of the worrying things. It was pretty much down on the minimum of the oil, so I've been keeping an eye on if this is an oil consuming engine. I mean, it is high mileage. I did service it right when I got it, but honestly, it hasn't used pretty much any oil at all since there we go, the narrow roads up here, but you do get used to it. But like I said, it hasn't used any oil at all, so that is really, really good news. And it doesn't seem to leak anywhere at all. The leaks I saw, or the buildup of oil around the cam cover, I think is from someone just spilling while trying to fill the engine, because where you fill the oil on the 4.2 supercharged engine is really far back, and it is quite easy to spill oil all over the manifolds, and or not the manifolds, but the cam covers and down onto the exhaust manifolds. So far it seems to be a good, reliable car, which is an odd thing for an old Range Rover. And I think I'm really, really positively surprised. I felt very confident in the engine because these 4.2 liter supercharged engines are very reliable, these Jaguar engines, but I was worried about everything else in the car. But honestly, it has been perfect. Starts first time every time, and no really weird issues. The only time we didn't have a weird issue when we just got it was, I think, because the battery was bad. As soon as I replaced that, no more weird issues anymore. So what are the future plans for this old Range Rover? Well, of course, we do plan on keeping it. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. And for the money we have into it, I mean, purchase it for about $4,000, and with all the parts and service items, oils, fluids, everything, 2 sets of wheels and tires and everything, we're somewhere in the realm of $6,000 to $6,500 all in all into this car. And I think that is absolutely amazing value for money. Even though, there are some dents on the backs and things, I think because we're at such a low spending point that it is almost even financially viable to fix those things and have this thing look fantastic. We're not only doing it because it's financially viable, but because everyone in the family really does enjoy this car. And in a few months, we're expecting another addition to the family. So we will be 2 adults and 2 kids, and we're also getting another dog, which will be quite a large dog, a German Shepherd. So having that big space in the back for a cage for the dog, big space in the back seat for 2 kids, everything. This will really be, I think, one of the ultimate family cars. And one more thing I do want to do is add a tow bar. This car doesn't have one, but I want to do that so I will be able to tow big car trailers with any of my other projects behind this car, because I think this would be a very excellent towing vehicle. Big heavy car, you can tow a lot with it, and it has this great big supercharged engine which is quite strong. So those are really the future plans for this car. It will be kept on the channel, not only because I really like it, but most importantly because my wife really likes the car. And I think as long as she likes it and nothing majorly goes wrong, this will be a car on the channel. One more project that I sort of forgot to mention that we're gonna have a look at is, I'm not sure if the coolant hoses have ever been changed on this car. Probably not. So probably sometime during the summer or right after summer, I'll be replacing all of that, including the ones under the supercharger, because those often get neglected, and the neglected hidden hoses are always the one that blow in the absolute worst possible times. Anyways, I've arrived at my destination, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the 6-month update of this Range Rover. And are you a little bit shocked that nothing major has happened? I'm not sure if I am, but I am a little bit surprised, at least, that it has been such a reliable car when it was, kind of neglected before we got it. I mean, it was well maintained and so, but it had been sitting for a year, and I thought that a lot more things would sort of happen, especially electrical gremlins would start happening when we start using it, but so far everything is working just as it should. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Anyways, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up, share it with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Anyways, until next time, I'm Adam, and this was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.